Yeah, it's a very important question because, the Western tradition, particularly postmodern thought, has been allergic to the idea of the transcendent. And the reason that is so is that in the entire history of Western thought, there is a certain endemic dualism. The transcendent is different from and dual with the immanent or the empirical, right? Uh, you have the mind body split. You have God and his creatures, the creator and his creatures, right? So one is going to be transcendent, the other is going to be the subordinate of the transcendent, right? And there's a gulf between them. There is a gulf between the two. When Sri Aurobindo uses the word transcendent, he's not talking about any separation, a gulf between the transcendent and the immanent. He's talking about an outside that collapses that binary. You see, the transcendent is the immanent. Really the further we go, the more we realize that what we are calling transcendent is only because it's the outside of our experience. And the more we come close to it, we realize that it is inside us. You know, you know, the one outside, the one unmoving is swifter than thought. It moves and moves not. It is very far and it is very close to us. It's intimately close to us. How close? It's closer than we know, right? It's closer than we can even imagine because we cannot objectify it. So this outside is ultimately the pervasive. This outside is that to which there is no outside. This outside is always the paradoxical. This is not the same as the way by which transcendent is used in the Western tradition, because the outside of the Western tradition is always in a dichotomous relationship with the inside. It is always constrained by this binary. I mean, if we look at Spinoza's, I mean, whether we look at his epistemology or if we look at his ethics, intellect is involved in it, but it's largely about affect and volition. So definitely whatever he's talking about is a more integral thing than just intellect. Intellect is leading it, but it is not just intellect. Just like with Socrates, in his in the symposium, when Plato's talking about Socrates and his teacher Diotima, right, who teaches him about philosophy as a love of Sophia, which is really a kind of a we talk about philosophy as the love of, I mean, of thought, the love of ideals, the love of thought. But he reverses it and says it is really the thought of love, right? What is the highest thought of love? Not what is the, greatest love of thought, right? So that turns it into affect rather than into thinking. Affect can lead us to the highest thinking. So it's similar with Spinoza, that there is a union, there is a certain kind of convergence into a more integral thought, you may say. In Sri Aurobindo's terminology, I would go so far as to call it the psychic mentality. But Jonathan, just to complete the thought about your previous question. So what I'm saying is that, I think a lot of contemporary Western thinkers are aware of this idea of the dichotomy between the transcendent, the creator and the creation, the transcendent and the immanent in Western thought. And so that's the reason why, people like Deleuze are saying that whatever philosophy you create, we have to recognize the fact that there is a duality. This is the case with Sri Aurobindo as well. That's why at the base of his philosophy, there is Sankhya. which is a dualistic system. But you have to connect that to another layer and another kind of outside, which is really inside. That is the plane of immanence. Sri Aurobindo may call it the transcendent. Deleuze may call it the plane of immanence. It's the same thing. It's that which collapses the duality and is the outside of the duality itself.